The season is over. The mark to a historic NBA season is officially over. The Oklahoma City Thunder have won the NBA championship of 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing.
And this was such a great series for both teams, including Indiana. Shout out to Indiana. They did the best they could. And, a lot of people weren't expecting them. If you saw my previous episode, you can't underestimate Indiana. But, they had such a great game. Fortunately, with the loss of Tyrese Halliburton, that got to them mentally, and they couldn't really, maintain that focus. So, things couldn't really click for them at all. Oklahoma City, your defense turned into great offense, and the Pacers couldn't recover from that. Shout out to TJ McConnell. We got to give TJ McConnell his props. He scored, and he was helping the Pacers out when Tyrese Halliburton went down. And they were just fighting and fighting and fighting. And fortunately, it wasn't enough though. But shout out to TJ McConnell for such a great performance. And prayers up to Tyrese Halliburton. Hopefully, he can get better, but it could be a torn Achilles. And unfortunately, he might miss a lot of games next year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is your Finals MVP. And right behind him is J-Dub. Shout out to J-Dub. Great series and great individual performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And we are all really proud that he was able to win MVP. First time in 25 years that a Finals MVP was also an MVP of the regular season and also scoring champion. And a great historic season for SGA. We'll see how much more he can do next year. And I'm really it's kind of sad that the NBA season is over. We will get into the free agencies and everything, but Indiana, in terms of Indiana, offense really wasn't a great thing for them right now. They were pressing, they were trying their best on defense, but Oklahoma City's great offense was way better than their defense, unfortunately. And, they didn't really have great vibes when Halliburton went down. And, it got to them mentally, and, they couldn't recover from that. Because, Tyrese Halliburton was going really hard. He had that calf strain, and he still wanted to play. A lot of guys would have backed down from that, but Tyrese Halliburton didn't want to back down. But fortunately, with the whole the lower leg injury, he couldn't continue the rest of the game. But you got to give him props because he tried his hardest to stay out there, be with his team, and have the city of Indiana win a championship. Because, they didn't win a championship since the ABA. So I don't blame him for trying to stay in. And, a lot of guys would have backed out. So really, shout out to Tyrese Halliburton for trying his hardest. But unfortunately, with that lower leg injury, he could miss a lot of games in the 25-26 season. So prayers up for Tyrese Halliburton. And before we end today, let's talk about the Kevin Durant trade. Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks and a couple second round picks. And they will get the Phoenix Suns first round pick. But this is a crazy trade, honestly. It's crazy because Houston, you're giving up that young core of Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks because they're one of the youngest teams besides Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the youngest teams. And, they have the potential to be one of the best teams in a couple years and hopefully win a championship. But, bringing in Kevin Durant, like a 37-year-old guy, I don't know how great it's going to work out for you. Because Jalen Green, people don't know, but he's going to be a star. Now, even though he didn't have the best performance playing against Golden State, we all seen that, and they had to bench him, but he's going to be a future star. You just got to have trust in him. Dillon Brooks, he's also a great defender that you want to have on your team. KD, not too great of a defensive player, so it's kind of crazy you're giving that up. So I think, a lot of people are saying that Houston got fleeced for this trade. And honestly, I kind of believe it a little bit because you're bringing in a 37-year-old to that young core. Ime Udoka, just signed an 8-year contract, and he's going to be, coach of that team for 8 years. So bringing in an old guy who didn't win anything post Golden State, I don't know how that's exactly going to work out. So they could drop potentially in becoming one of the best teams. So they could drop in the standings. And we're going to predict the standings for next year when the season comes around in September and October. We're going to predict that, and we're going to see how great it goes. But, breaking up that young core, definitely crazy. Especially the loss of Jalen Green. A lot of people really underestimate him, but he's going to be a star. You just got to have trust in him. Sometimes he plays good like 15% of the year, but you need to have trust in him at the end of the day. So him going to the Suns, joining D Book, which they potentially could trade Bradley Beal, but because of the no trade clause in his contract, he gets to decide where he wants to go. So definitely it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The Knicks are still looking for a head coach, before the draft. And, in a couple of days, we're going to predict who's going to be coming first in the draft. And make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed today's little segment. Congrats to Oklahoma State Thunder. Shout out to Indiana for a great series. A lot of people didn't think that would happen because a lot of people thought they were going to be knocked down to 5 or 6. But shout out to Indiana. You guys fought hard, and we appreciate y'all for that. And shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. Prayers up. TJ McConnell, great job. And shout out to OKC for winning. Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for winning MVP. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. And make sure you guys follow me on Twitch, Tahani Woodward, in case if you guys didn't already. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.